Chapter 2, Shifting Gears, Phases of Business and How Your Traffic Generation Strategy Grows and Changes. Okay, we've covered the various traffic generation tools you can use with broad strokes, and you may have decided which tactic you're going to start with. However, before you run one out and start implementing these tactics, we want you to do one very important thing. Create a plan, a traffic generation strategy. Now, this is essential. Not planning your traffic generation strategy means not knowing if each tactic is working, wasting your precious time, effort, and money, and floundering and struggling instead of achieving. Not fun, right? On the other hand, planning your traffic generation strategy means knowing when you've achieved your traffic goals, knowing what tactics are working, eliminating users' techniques that don't work or fine-tuning them for better results, maximizing your time, energy, and money, and reaching profitability ASAP. Of course, one critical component to knowing whether you've achieved your traffic generation goals is to test and track your goals and the tactics you're using to achieve them. We'll look at how to accomplish that in the next chapter. For now, let's get started on your traffic generation strategy. Remember, this report is one part of a full business building series. The traffic generation plan you create here will become part of your complete business plan. You'll come back to your business plan on a regular basis to make sure that you're on track to achieve your goals and also to adapt and modify your tactics as your business grows and changes. On that note, let's take a look at what goes into creating your traffic generation strategy. Creating your traffic generation strategy. One of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when trying to drive traffic to their websites is a failure to create a plan and stick with it. As mentioned in previous reports, as a business owner, your number one task and responsibility is to plan your business. Experts recommend spending at least 25% of your time planning. Everything from your finances to your traffic generation strategy should be planned. Here's what to consider when planning your traffic generation strategy. What are your traffic goals? What tactics are you going to use to achieve those goals? This, of course, is what we're talking about today. What is your budget? What goals do you have for each traffic tactic, and how are you going to achieve them? How are you testing and tracking your results? How will your tactics work together for maximum results? And how often will you reassess, analyze, and plan your strategy? There isn't a right or wrong way to plan. What is important is that you do it. Having a plan will make sure that you don't miss a step, make mistakes, or skip over a potentially effective traffic generation tactic. Changing traffic generation tactics as you grow, switching gears. It makes sense that your traffic generation tactics will change as your business grows and changes. First gear. Right now, you're likely in first gear. You're just starting out. This means that you may have limited finances and a tight budget. Aspiring entrepreneurs often have limited cash reserves. They certainly don't have thousands of dollars to spend on advertising campaigns, outsourcing, and content creation. What you do have, however, is your skills, knowledge, and entrepreneurial mindset to get the job done. The good news is that many of the best traffic generation tactics are 100% free. Have limited time, still working 9 to 5. Many entrepreneurs haven't quit their day jobs. This is perfectly fine, but it does present you with a time challenge. The tactics you will likely focus on, therefore, are the ones that provide maximum traffic for as little time commitment as necessary. Blogging and social networking, for example, can be accomplished before work, at lunchtime, or after work. Have united resources, few partners, and associates in your industry to help you. New to an industry, you might not have a solid support system or network of associates. That means you may be handling most of your business yourself. Now, this isn't a bad thing. It's the way that most people start in business. If you have a good chunk of money, time, and resources, great. If you don't, no worries. Many of the traffic generation tactics we've discussed here are free and super effective, often more effective than the paid strategies. Regardless of your traffic strategy, you should reflect your present circumstances and be designed to take you to the next level. Here's a quick look at how traffic generation strategy might look at the various stages of your business growth. Growth is first gear. During the initial year or two when you're just starting out, content marketing, linking, and article marketing may be where you focus your time and energy. As your business grows, you may transition into blogging and social networking. Adolescence is third gear. As you shift into third gear and have reached some of your initial long-term goals, you will likely be strengthening your traffic generation tactics. Maybe your social networking tactics have really amplified and your blog is growing by leaps and bounds. You're still focusing on content marketing and article marketing as well. You're also dabbling in advertising now that you have your revenue that you can turn around and put back into your business. And maturity is fifth gear. Business is zooming right along at this point. You're now using most, if not all, of the major traffic generation tactics. Content, article marketing, blogging, linking, and social networking are all streamlined, and your advertising campaigns are fine-tuned to generate the most traffic. At this point, you may be willing to step outside of the box and take some risks. As you transition through the gears or stages of your business, you'll also have traffic goals that coincide with each of your chosen tactics. It's important to know that your tactics will overlap. Your content and article marketing tactics will overlap with your goals to generate more incoming links. Your social networking tactics may overlap with your blogging and content tactics. Conclusion. Planning your traffic generation strategy, including the goals and how you're going to achieve them, is essential for success. It's important to accept and realize your present strengths and weaknesses and to plan ahead for the future at the same time. This chapter presents a number of action steps. Achieve them, plan your strategy, and you'll be ready to implement them and surge forward. Action step number 2. What is your budget? How much money do you have to spend on traffic generation tactics? Action step number 3. How much time do you have? Honestly assess how much time you have each day, week, and month to devote to driving traffic to your website. When will you be working on traffic generation? Schedule it. Action step number 4. What are your traffic goals? Outline what your goals are for traffic. How many visitors do you want each day, week, and month to your website? Research your competition if you're not sure where to start. Action step number 5. What tactics are you going to use to achieve those goals? What goals do you have for each traffic tactic, and how are you going to achieve them? Action step number 6. How will your tactics work together for maximum results? And action step number 7. How often will you reassess, analyze, and plan your strategy? Document your plan to review and reevaluate your strategy and goals. Chapter 3, Tune-Up, Testing and Tracking Traffic. In the previous chapter, we discussed creating a traffic generation strategy. You created goals for each tactic in your strategy, right? So how are you going to measure those goals? How will you know what tactics are working? How will you know if your traffic plan needs a tune-up? This chapter is devoted to testing and tracking your web traffic generation tactics. Here are just a few things for you to test and track. Click-throughs on social networking posts. Headline effectiveness. Calls to action. Let's take a look at how to test and track successfully. Testing. Testing is essentially measuring various tactics or aspects of a tactic to see how it's performing. One example might be if you're utilizing article directories to drive traffic and you want to find out which type of article generates more links, a review or a tip sheet. This is testing. And there are various forms of testing you can use. The most basic is split testing, and that's where we'll focus our attention. You can look at multivariable testing if you want to get more involved in this process. However, for most needs and purposes, split testing works just fine. Split testing. Split testing is quite simple in theory. It's essentially testing one element of a tactic. Say, for example, you want to test the effectiveness of a call to action in your articles you publish on article directories. You want to see which call of action generates more click-throughs to your website. The idea would be to essentially publish the exact same article with two different calls to action. The one that received the more click-throughs is the one that you would then rely on for future content and published articles. And in fact, many article directories support split testing with features that make it easy to isolate one element and test for it. When done correctly, the data you receive is extremely accurate and beneficial. The disadvantage to split testing is that it can take a long time to gather accurate data, and if you're only testing one variable at a time. In general, it takes 50 actions to give you statistically relevant data, with a margin of error around 12%. Testing tools. Where do you go to start testing? Basic testing can be handled internally. You can do it yourself or hire someone to track and compile the data. A simple Excel spreadsheet will help you track your marketing data, or you can take advantage of technology. Online, there are a number of website tracking tools you can use. For example, Google Analytics enables you to evaluate customer response to different web pages and click-through rates on items you're testing, like your sign-up form. Like most things, Google, it's free. We'll talk more about Google Analytics at the end of this chapter. Your website host may also offer helpful analytical tools to help you track relevant statistics. Additionally, there are a number of consulting firms and software programs available to anyone who is interested in multivariable or split testing. Tracking. In an internet business, you can test and track just about everything. However, because this report is devoted to website traffic, we're going to stick to that topic. Tracking is simply using the data available to find out how your customers and prospects found out about or made their way to your business website. Did they click on an ad? See a comment you posted on a blog? Read an article you published online? Find you via the search engines? Follow a social networking link? Follow a link posted on someone else's blog? You can also find out how many people visit your website each day, week, month, and how that information compares to previous days, weeks, and months. And finally, you can learn which keywords people are using most often to find your website. Imagine how powerful that information can be. As you can see, this can be some very helpful and important information. It can tell you exactly which tactics are working and which are not. And it can tell you where to focus your efforts if you've reached your website traffic goals. As mentioned earlier, one of the most useful tools, and it's free, is Google Analytics. You simply sign up for an account, create your code, and paste it into your website code, or have your webmaster handle it for you. Here's a rundown of what Google Analytics can tell you. Number 1, date range. Use this drop-down box to select what date range you want to get data for. For example, if you want to see how many visitors you got in the last week, select those dates in the drop-down box. Number 2, visitor graph. This is a graph of how many visitors you got over the date range you selected. Number 3, visits. The number of visitors you got over the date range you selected. Number 4, the number of web page views. Number 5, the number of pages the average visitor visited. Number 6, the bounce rate is the percentage of people who left your website without looking at another web page. In other words, they came to your front page and left right away. Number 7, the average time spent on your website before leaving. Number 8, what percentage of visitors are new visitors? And number 9, your dashboard where you can get more data. Traffic sources menu. This is perhaps one of the most important menus in Google Analytics. This page allows you to get detailed data on where your visitors are coming from. By learning where your visitors are coming from, you have a far greater chance of increasing your traffic successfully. Generally, it's easier to get more traffic from an existing traffic source than it is to try and find a new traffic source. Here are some of the important statistics you can get from Google Analytics Traffic Sources menu. Overview. The first page you'll be taken to will have an overview of your main sources of traffic. It'll break down by direct traffic, referring sites, and search engines. In addition, it will also have your top traffic sources and top keywords. Referring sites. If you click referring sites, you can see the top websites that are sending visitors to you. If you find a website that's working particularly well, you may want to consider trying to get even more traffic from that website. Keywords. This is a crucial part of search engine optimization. Google Analytics will actually tell you what keywords people are using to find you. By analyzing this data, you can improve your search engine rankings for those keywords and get even more traffic. You can also take keywords that are doing well for you on an organic search and then bid in them on PPC. You can also take keywords that are doing well in PPC and optimize your site for them on search. As you can tell, there's a wealth of information that's available to you. Look over your analytics carefully and extract the most valuable data. Conclusion. Of course, there are other analytic tools and services that you can use depending on your budget and the amount of information you're looking for. Knowing what works when it comes to traffic generation and where your visitors are coming from is an essential element to planning your strategy correctly to making it work for long-term success. In the next chapter, we'll jump right into the main website traffic mistakes and outline the do's and don'ts for generating website traffic. However, before we move on, there are 2 action steps to take. Action step number 8, research analytics. Spend some time researching potential analytic tools, including Google Analytics. Find one you like and install it onto your website. Action step number 9, testing tactics. Create a strategy to test the various elements of your chosen traffic generation tactics. For example, if you've decided to utilize article marketing, test headlines on an article to see which generates more traffic or to test your call to action. Go back to your traffic generation strategy and add a plan to test your tactics for maximum results.